Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. This episode is brought to you by my friends over at E-residency Estonia. If you're a globetrotting digital nomad, expat, freelancer, or somebody with a business, whether that's just you or an aspiring unicorn like some of the many other unicorns that have come out of Estonia, then look at E-residency Estonia the next time you're thinking about where to establish your business. E-residency is a digital identity issued by the Republic of Estonia, which is in the European Union, to foreign nationals, that means non-Estonians, giving them digital access to the country's advanced online infrastructure and open business environment. And when I say advanced, I mean advanced. They've been doing digital for decades. E-residents can start a company 100% online from wherever they are in the world, run it remotely, open business bank accounts, and even submit their annual reports, all with their electronic ID card. It's literally international business without borders for location-independent entrepreneurs, perfect for the About Abroad audience. The next time you're thinking about where to establish your business, look at E-residency Estonia via the link in the show notes. Okay, now back to the episode. My guest today is Chris Dittrich, who joins us from Thailand and has a super interesting story because he overcame a traumatic brain injury that left him paralyzed and in a coma and fearing for his life, actually, and today lives a life where he still struggles with some of the effects of that injury, both mentally and physically, but manages to travel the world, explore Southeast Asia in particular, says he is thriving and just loving life in Thailand, and has been there for 5 years now. So he walks us through what life is like in Thailand, what it's been like overcoming the effects of his injury, and what he loves about Southeast Asia, some of the other places he's traveled to where he would settle down, and just some very practical information about Bangkok and Thailand in general, in case it's a place that you might want to call home sometime soon. So I hope you enjoy this one. I certainly did. It was a lot of fun, very inspiring conversation, and I think that Chris is just living the dream. So please help me in welcoming Chris to About Abroad. Hey, Chris, welcome to About Abroad. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Chase. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to finally meet you and learn a little bit more about your story. I've been following along for some time, and it's a pretty unique story, and you happen to also be in a part of the world that I'm really interested in diving into deep during this season. So it's the perfect mix. Welcome to the show, man.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. It's exciting. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's, there's a lot we're going to try to get to in a fairly short time. So I thought the best way to get started would be to let's just tell the audience kind of quickly where you are right now and sort of what you're doing. And then I'd love to back up a little further and go through kind of how you got to where you are. So
Cool.
let's start
Sounds
there.
perfect. Well, right this second, as we are talking, I'm in a hotel room in Phuket looking at the Indian Ocean. Looking at you, but looking at the ocean too every once in a while. And I'm in day number 4 of my 14-day sandbox, Phuket sandbox time to be able to be allowed to go back into Bangkok, to go back. I've been living in Bangkok for 5 years, started from there. But during this COVID time, I was just back in the States getting my vaccines and everything. And in order to come back, I could either do 2 weeks of quarantine in a hotel room in Bangkok. I did that already in January, and that was not something I wanted to do again. You were allowed out for 1 hour a day. It was very much very prison-like. It was, yeah, they would bring you all your meals and stuff. But now I'm doing the Phuket sandbox, which has been Great so far. I have to stay in Phuket for the 14 days. Check in the morning during breakfast at the hotel, scan my QR code, just give them my temperature, and then again in the evening time.
Really?
Otherwise I'm free. Yeah, so it's just have to stay here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
which is
so hold
great.
on.
You're
Wait.
allowed to see it. Yeah, you're allowed to see other people, allowed to go out, do whatever. And yeah, it's like a 2-week vacation in Phuket, but you just have to stay in Phuket.
That's
Tough
not
life.
that
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
sound
really
like
not so
the
bad.
worst thing in
Yeah.
the world.
No, not
Wait,
at
so
all. Yeah.
so why the difference between Bangkok and Phuket? It's not a national rule or law?
Not yet. This was an experiment. This is the first experiment for Thailand to get back into the tourism game. You know, they've lost their economy has had a very tough year and a half, year and change due to the COVID and due to everything. And they're trying to open back up, and so they're doing this sandbox kind of scheme and seeing how it works in order to move forward with that being the rest of the country. As people get more vaccinated and things of the nature, it's becoming easier. I believe there's going to be hopefully big news October 1st. They're looking to open up a lot more. It's been kind of hit or miss all around, but I finally made it back. And I went back to the U.S. again. I moved here to Thailand to Bangkok in 2000 at the beginning of 2016, and it was in Bangkok working. Went back and forth to the U.S. every once in a while just to visit my family and my friends. Been to a bunch of different other countries traveling, but at the beginning of 2020, right when COVID kind of started in March, my family said, "Hey, Chris, you know what? We don't want to take any chances. Come home for a little
Mm.
while at least." And I got stuck. I couldn't get back. I was stuck in at my dad's house in Florida, frustrated, and I was stuck there for what 10 months, 9 months, and finally had the opportunity to come back at the end of December. Flew back and started my 2-week quarantine. Had another good bunch of months. Went back to the states, and now I'm doing this Phuket sandbox all around.
Wow. Wow,
But
what an
yeah,
eventful year, right?
yeah, right,
I
yes,
know quite a few people that got trapped at quote unquote home, at their home,
yeah,
like their original home when they were living abroad or something. And
yeah,
I actually rushed back. We can move away from COVID in a minute, but like I got almost trapped back in the U.S. as well, right as
yeah.
lockdown started in Spain, and
Oh,
had to rush
geez.
back.
All right,
And
okay.
was in the similar
Yeah,
situation, but the opposite. I was back visiting family, and was then like, oh, I got to get back, quote unquote, home, which was kind of weird. So
yeah, right.
okay, so you've been kind of calling Thailand home for 5 years now, and that happened,
Yeah,
and so
uh,
we're all going through COVID. But how did
yeah.
you come? How did it come to be Thailand?
So I got lucky. How about that? I'm the luckiest guy in the world. So I graduated college with a degree in finance back in 2013. I started a job, didn't like it in a normal office, so I went back to school for hotel management with the dream, with the idea that someday I could connect with a hotel chain and be able to pick my spot where I wanted to go. You know, I had a passion of traveling, a passion to meet people and to move around. And it just so happened the first job offer I got was to move to Bangkok with Accor Hotels, with that big international chain. I was not anticipating it being my first, to be leaving right away, but I had studied Mandarin in high school and in college and in Beijing a little bit. So I got the opportunity to, hey, Chris, we want you to move to Thailand. I had interviewed for the job with Accor, but it was a worldwide kind of a placement where they said, if you're so fortunate to be hired, we're going to send you somewhere.
Mm.
So it was a very, very up in the air. You never know. I didn't hear back for a while. And that was good news because all my friends that were in class with me, they said they all heard back as like, no, we didn't get the job. What about you? And I wasn't hearing anything. So I knew that no news was most likely good news. And it ended up being just that. I woke up one morning to an email from the hotel in Bangkok saying, hey, we want you to come work here. And was there a few weeks later. at the beginning of 2016, and I fell in love with Thailand. I mean, I my original idea was to spend 1 or 2 years in the country and then be ready. Okay, now it's time to pick a spot on the map where I want to go next, things like that. But I say I'm very lucky because I felt I found the best place first, or
Right.
I was put in the best place first. Again,
That's amazing.
I won't be too proud and say it was my choice. It was not my choice. I got lucky.
Sometimes the best choices pick us instead of the other
Yeah,
way around. I think
certainly. Yeah,
it can certainly work that way.
right.
And so a big I want to go way deeper on why Thailand is so great and the different
Yeah.
areas of Thailand. We will
Mhm.
get to that. I think a fascinating part of your story is that you suffered this traumatic injury. And I'm curious. So I would love for you to expound upon that a little bit,
Yeah.
how it's affected your life and at what juncture that was.
Certainly.
Was that
Thank
before or
you.
after Thailand?
It
Because I
was
think it's really interesting.
way before. So it was when I was still a senior in high school. I was speeding on my way to lunch one day, and I got in a severe car accident and suffered a severe traumatic brain injury. March 3rd, 2008, just 3 months prior to graduating from high school. And I physically, I mean, I was in a coma for a month. I was paralyzed for a long time afterwards, and I've been fortunate to my brain came back rather and continues to come back rather quickly, and has made me sharp again. And physically, I continue to progress as well. But really, the brain injury got me to want to push the limit, that like nothing was ever good enough. So I learned to adapt very quickly, if that's I guess a fair way of putting it. So like I moved from New Jersey where I had my injury and I was recovering to Miami for college, and fell in love with Miami first of all, loved being there, but eventually I was ready to go to the next place. And again, that's all brain injury. It was all like, oh, okay, all right, next, 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 I want next. So that was I couldn't do the office job,
Was
that
that like was that clinically diagnosed? Like
um
is that
I
something that they say is like part of what happened, or
It
is that just
it
like a
can
feeling you
be.
have?
It
Yeah.
it can be, that you lose focus quickly. And
Mm,
fortunately, mine is not so much as I lose focus. I mean, it is kind of with the job in the office. I mean, doing the mundane kind of computer work and tasks. I couldn't do that anymore. My original prior to my injury, I was planning on going into finance like my dad had and things like that. But I didn't have that anymore. I couldn't I would lose focus more quickly.
mm.
That's more the reason. And so this being in different in atmospheres and environments kept me focused and kept me sharp. Meeting new people and things. I was fortunate. I've been able to pick up a lot of languages just through hearing them, and that was only ever since my injury. So I could speak a bunch of different languages, and I really enjoyed learning languages and speaking to different people. So I knew that um, as I was sitting in my office in Hollywood, Florida, looking at the world go by outside me, I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work. Right. So, I was able to take the opportunity. One of the best hospitality schools was right down the street from me down in Miami at FIU, Florida International. And so again, I took the opportunity, hey, let's see how this plays out. And again, with the dream of getting in the hotel industry and being able to bounce from place to place. And then fast forward to Thailand. Yeah.
Mm.
So the injury and my recovery it's helped me gain confidence, and knowing that if I can deal with all that and overcome and continue to overcome all the physical and mental injuries I've had, that anything I experience abroad, it will just continue to build me up and fulfill me even more.
Did you have one of those like kind of I don't want to say stereotypical, but like one of those moments like life is short sort of thing. Like I have to go chase my dreams. Like you, I mean, you came,
Mm.
I presume to say like You could have
Yeah,
come close to
then
losing your life.
a
So is
a
that
near
there?
death experience. I know you don't want to be
Yeah.
cliche, near death kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I have never I understand what you mean. I never really looked at it like, oh, life is short. No, I appreciate life a lot more now, you know? So I'm not it's not like I'm out there taking more risks because I already overcame this one thing. You know, I'm trying to be as safe or whatever as I can be. It's just that I guess I've learned that there's a lot to appreciate about life, and there's a lot. Life is for living. How's that? You know,
Yeah.
so because of my near death experience, it makes me want to do more. It makes me want to experience more than what the run of the mill what people would call, I guess, a normal
Mm.
life. I want more than that.
Absolutely. And did you have like a craving to live abroad, to experience other cultures and stuff prior to the injury, or did that sort of develop
I
afterwards?
prior to the injury, I started studying Mandarin. So
Mm.
I was always been interested in international. I was very fortunate, you know, I have to thank my parents. We traveled a lot when I was growing up, just for summer vacations and things like that. Through Europe and to China and places. But it was after my injury that I really started to feel like I not only wanted to visit the places, I enjoyed living. I wanted to experience it more than just your superficial 2-week vacation where you see the tourist spots and you can say, "Oh, I've been there," but you're not really, you know, it's not making friends, it's not dating girls, it's not having real relationships with people in those foreign countries, which is what I liked. When I was 21, I took an opportunity to study abroad during the summer of 2011 in Beijing, and that's really when I realized, because it was only 3 years after my injury. So again, I'm always very confident in my abilities, but physically I was not really in good shape at all. And I went to Beijing with a couple of classmates and my professor, and we were doing all the touring and stuff, going to the Great Wall of China, in studying Chinese too. But I couldn't keep up with the class physically. I was slowing everyone down. I was tired all the time. I wasn't able to concentrate in class because I was hurting, you know?
Yeah.
So at the end of after 2 weeks, we were leaving Beijing and going to Shanghai. And I told the professor, I said, you know what? This is, it's not working for me. I think I'm going to stay in Beijing. And the professor like looked at me like, wait, what? So, with my family's backing as well, I chose to drop the class when I was in Beijing, and I stayed by myself for 2 more weeks in Beijing rather than going with the class to Shanghai. And in those 2 weeks, it was amazing. You know, I got to experience life abroad. You know, I had to figure things out. I had to negotiate with my professor to teach me in a private class. I met people, I made friends. I actually A kid that I knew from Miami happened to randomly see me in the middle of the Forbidden City,
No
Chris,
way.
and I didn't remember his name, but he's like, Chris, we had a class together at Miami. So nice to see you. I mean, yeah, and he took me out to where I would be going to the bars all the time and like having fun and living, not just there to study, but to live there. You know, it was only for 2 weeks, but I met a really cool Chinese girl. It was amazing, and you know that's what really got me starting to have the kind of an itch to go back and have that kind of experience again. And then the next year, I studied, quote unquote, studied abroad in the Galapagos Islands. And that was, again, it was only a 2 week quick summer trip, but that was another like kind of a life, an experience kind of thing where we had class a little bit, but it was a very bogus studying time. And we had a lot of time on our own, you know, that we were just experiencing the islands and making friends with a lot of the local people, drinking at the bars with them and stuff. And it was just a very like cool thing, you know. It made me want to continued to, oh, it was great. I was living in Miami. I mean, it's not a bad city to live in at all, but I was bored. It was boring to me when I knew everyone. And I had all the relationships, and I had everything already figured out. I was like, I enjoy this going overseas thing a lot more. I like living in different places by myself, kind of. Yeah,
A lot of the audience listening to this can resonate with those sentiments, because I
certainly.
certainly do. Like, I'm like, there's something, there's no way to define it exactly, but there's something about this need to be immersed in these other cultures and not just visit them, and not just be there and see it, but like do the local stuff. And I've said
Yeah,
before on the show, like be in a foreign place where like the mundane activity becomes like exciting, like going to the market or going to have a beer at the bar in the Galapagos and running into your neighbor and like, just having
yeah,
a chat real quick in
certainly. Yeah,
Spanish.
it's yeah, it's a very good point. It's exactly right. When you turn the mundane, and the mundane is exciting for us in the expat kind of world. I enjoy being able to, when I do go home, I like that I can connect people all around the world now. So, like, if I have a friend in the States that says, "Oh, yeah, I'm going here," or "I want to go there," I'm like, "Oh, don't worry. I have a guy there. I've got a girl there. I've got a friend there that I'll connect you to." It was my buddy. I did an internship in Hong Kong in 2014 when I was still in graduate school. I did it at the Peninsula Hotel in Hong Kong, and that was my first. I did the studying abroad, but that was my first experience to be living for. I was there for 3 months and had an apartment and stuff like that, and, it was really hard. Again, it was difficult because I was working and things, but, you make it work and you build confidence, and I made so many friends, and I was able to. I had a friend from the States who was apprehensive about going to his internship in Hong Kong, and when he got there, he didn't know a lot of people. He had a bad roommate or something, and I was able to connect him with my people in Hong Kong, and he ended up having a great time. And that's it, very fulfilling kind of a feeling for me that I have those kind of connections, and I've been able to keep them over the course of years in different countries.
We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This season is brought to you by my good friends over at Insured Nomads. They're the absolute best in the business when it comes to providing health, travel, and medical insurance for nomads, expats, and really just all forms of world travelers. I know insurance is often something that's overlooked when we're fantasizing about traveling the world, but it's absolutely necessity that we address this, because often the policy you have in your home country isn't going to cover you while you're abroad. And it's also a requirement, as a lot of people may not realize, to actually buy private travel or expat insurance, as it's called sometimes, to obtain a visa or even enter certain countries. So fortunately, there are companies like Insured Nomads to help us with this. Not only do they have excellent coverage and great prices, but they're also providing a first-class experience with additional perks and best-in-class technology via their app. It's an amazing experience. I can't recommend it enough. Now, this is a company that was built by world travelers for world travelers, so they know what it's like to find yourself in a difficult medical situation abroad, and they want to keep you from having that same bad experience. So the next time you're planning a trip abroad, whether it's for a week or a lifetime, check out Insured Nomads via the link in the show notes. Okay, now back to the episode. Do you ever reflect on the fact that, and I guess there's actually two parts to this question, like, do you ever reflect on the fact that like how far you've come since your injury, like that you're a globetrotting expat living in Thailand, and then like I'm not sure what the doctors told you would be your life going forward from the injury, but um, do, do you feel like you've come a long way and
It's
superseded those
it's
expectations?
it's a it's a great question, because yes, exactly, and it fuels me forward. It fuels me to want more and more and more and more. Is exactly right. I think back. I talk to my family or my friends. I laugh thinking about that time in Beijing, man, in 2011, like how bad physically that I was then, and but the the beauty and the curse of my injury, just a brain injury in general, you never know when you'll hit the plateau or if you'll hit the plateau. The doctors were never willing to tell me, "Oh, I won't get any better than this," because there's no way of telling. It's all different with brain
Mm.
injuries. So, I guess it was a good thing because in 2011, when I was in that position, I was doing fantastic in my head because I was doing so much better than the year before that, if that makes sense. So, so it made me do and try as hard as I could and didn't matter where I was, I could go to China. Of course, I was doing so well, quote unquote, physically. But then to look back at that now, that was what, 9 years ago. Like, I don't know how I did it. I went to Beijing. I went back to Beijing in 2017, and I went to a lot of the same places that I went back to the school that I had been to, and I remember taking out the walk from the dorm room to the bar down the street and walking home drunk every night. And I can't even imagine how I did it because it wasn't it was like a totally different world then because but every single time I think about it, it makes me build confidence because I did it and I used it to get to where I am now today, living the dream here in Thailand and being able to go wherever we really want to.
Can you, and actually, so on that note, I follow you on social media, so I know a bit more than some people listening. Can you
Yeah.
kind of describe, when you say physically limited, can you kind of describe your current state? Like what's limited for you?
Oh, well, currently, I mean, again, not much anymore. I walk with a bit of a limp because I suffered the brain injury to the left side of my head. So it was my right side that was paralyzed in 2008. And so still walking just a bit. I still have a bit of a hitch in my step sometimes. It's not, I exercise every day and I'm on the elliptical, the cross trainer for an hour a day. So it's not that I have the endurance and everything now, fortunately, but my right arm and my right leg are what is weaker than my left side. But now I'm thankful that there's no real hindrances anymore. I'm not perfect. I'm not like everybody else, but it's not something that affects me whatsoever.
That's awesome. Congrats
Again,
on
it
coming that
fuels
far.
me to move forward. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thanks.
that's fantastic. So very cool. So you've been all over Asia now, and you've seen a lot. Thailand seems to be your number one, though. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Thailand, to live here, to live in Bangkok. Again, all prior to COVID. I mean, there are so many nice people here. The Thai people are fantastic in general, helping out and things like that. But there's a great expat community, young expat community, big pool party scene here in Bangkok. Lots of fun, and it's easy to travel from place to place. But what I liked the most about Bangkok, for it seemed that there was the best quality of life for cost of living. That ratio was incredibly in an expat, especially in expats' favor. That nice apartments with nice city views and stuff for pennies on the dollar compared to a place like the United States.
Mm.
And it was inexpensive in a lot of these other Southeast Asian countries, but it seems that Bangkok had the best quality of life as well.
Mm. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
some places can be inexpensive, but you kind of get what you pay for, sort of
right,
thing. And
yeah,
in this
exactly,
case, you feel like you're like kind of getting a deal. You're like, wow,
oh,
it's this
yeah,
great and this
yeah,
price. That's
exactly.
amazing.
I mean, in all of these foreign and in big metropolitan international cities, if you want to pay, you certainly can. There are places where they're gonna try to rip off the tourists. There are very nice restaurants and stuff that you're gonna pay stupid money for. But if you're just trying to live a normal life, it's really convenient. It's very well priced and
Yeah.
fair.
Are you what random question, and then we'll come back to this real quick, but are you still working in the hotel industry,
No,
or have
now,
you moved
well,
on?
no, since the right before COVID, I got out of the hotel industry. I'm actually in a private new startup company. We're in a crowd. We're opening up we're going to be selling a new invention for craft beer brewing.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You're talking my language.
Yeah, totally kind of changing direction. But I helped write the business plan for this company back in January, February, March of 2020. And then it just has worked out that I've had to be back in the States, but I've been able to stay very engaged remotely through the computer. And now, yeah, we're
Very cool.
still in the planning phase and the manufacturing phase for our product. So I don't need to be in any one particular place. We do Zoom meetings. You know, technology is incredible. And so I've got a
Yeah.
Zoom meeting in a few hours with Denver, Colorado, Vienna, Austria, Bangkok, me here in Phuket, the Philippines. So we're all over the place, and it's remarkable. Yeah. But
Toss in a
The
Spanish
CEO and
meeting
I,
here.
yeah, the CEO and I are based in Bangkok,
Okay.
but it
All
doesn't
right.
matter
Cool.
where now. Yeah.
And I'm super curious. It has nothing to do with Thailand. I'm curious. Is it have to do with actually creating a brew, a beer, or is it a device, or can
It's
you
it,
share, or do you want to keep it quiet
well,
for
oh,
now?
certainly. Yeah, no, I'm happy to share. It is exactly that. It's a much more so automated brewing device. But we're not doing homebrew yet. It's going to be a system that helps small bars start to brew their own beer.
I love
Craft,
it.
yeah, so more on exactly that. You know, it's going to be a 200-liter system that's all done from a touchscreen
Sweet.
where and cloud it's a cloud-based technology where you're going to be able to log in, pick from 100 different recipes. It tells you what ingredients to put in, and then boom, boom, boom. 4 hours later, because the cleaning's all done automated, you don't do anything until the brew is complete. You will have your brew ready to be fermented for the time being. And yeah, so the idea is, and it's only the size of a dining room table. So at any kind of a bar, you're going to be able to buy our system. You're going to start to be able to brew your own branded beer.
How cool.
Yeah,
Let me know if you
uh,
need investors. I love it.
certainly. Yeah,
I've often thought that these like I don't know, like the U.S. the craft beer scene is very big, and it's
yeah,
growing internationally. In Spain, it's starting to blossom a little bit. But I've
yeah.
often thought like these small bars would really benefit them to have some like their own brew
That's
that they have,
yeah,
and
that's exactly, yeah, especially coming out of the pandemic time, it's the perfect time for our product because it's that, you know, it's we're looking to keep it under 65,000 US dollars, and for that price you're going to be able to have your own beer, you
yeah,
know, and brew your own beer and have a huge marketing advantage and cost advantage when you're paying pennies on the dollar for your brew rather than having to import expensive craft beer, especially now with the different supply chains that have been all kind of messed up thanks to the COVID time. You want to be able
yeah.
to control your own inventory. I read an article that like millions of dollars worth of beer wastage at the beginning of the pandemic because these bars had kegs and kegs and kegs worth of beer that went bad because their demand fell so quickly and so
Wow.
rapidly. Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, I'll send you all the information. Our company is UBB, which
UBB.
is yeah, UBB, Unique Bavarian Brewery is what it stands for. And yeah, I'll
Cool.
send you a link and stuff,
I
which
love
will
it.
be yeah.
Okay, so we'll use that as a nice segue back into Thailand real quick. How is the craft beer scene in Bangkok and Thailand in
It's
general?
it's not great. No, yeah, there's many rules against craft beer in Bangkok. You know, the Singha and Chang are the two biggest companies. And it's not craft beer. That's the company beer, and they have a major monopoly. They've got a stronghold on everything. But craft beer in Cambodia and Vietnam and Laos and other countries, it's growing and growing. So for our
Interesting.
company, exactly. We're starting in the U.S., then we'll branch over to Europe to where it's starting to grow. Then eventually, hopefully in a couple of years' time, Southeast Asia will be ready, I guess.
Nice.
There are
All right.
places that
Cool.
are ready, but Thailand's not there yet. So if you're looking for to move abroad, purely based on their craft beer. Thailand probably Thailand is not the spot yet. I mean, the CEO of my company, I met him because he owned a craft beer bar in Bangkok, but it's not Thai craft beer. It's
Yeah.
it's craft beer and it's expensive to purchase in Thailand because it's all imported beer that's made in Cambodia or Vietnam and then pay exorbitant import taxes, and that cost is passed to the consumer, which is not good.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Mhm.
And so, what I would love to do here with Thailand and then Greater Asia is like let's start very micro and let's talk about
All
where
right.
you live, Bangkok, and kind
All
of
right.
what you love about Bangkok, and maybe just some info that if somebody was considering moving to Thailand, maybe why
Mhm.
they would or wouldn't choose
Yeah.
Bangkok. A little advice there, and then we'll kind of go a little bit bigger, talk more about Thailand as a whole, and then give a little bit of perspective on
Okay.
your travels through Asia. So let's
All
start
right.
with
I'll do my
Bangkok.
best. Bangkok
Yeah.
again. The best thing about Bangkok is the ratio, the cost of living to quality of life. So I moved there. Without knowing anything about it, beginning of January of 2016, I stayed at Airbnb for the first couple of weeks to get adjusted. Um, it's easy to find apartments. There's a surplus of apartments, which is good for the consumer, again, not for the homeowner. But you can log on, and there are tons of apartments that you just find
Where do you log
different.
on to? What website
Um,
or do you recommend?
Shoot, it was DD, yeah, dndproperty.com is the one that I use, and there's just a listing, and each listing has different listing agents. You call them, they will show you that apartment, and then they'll have their own list of apartments that are similar to that one if you want. I didn't even bother looking at many. I found an apartment on the same street as the hotel that I was working in. It's very warm in Thailand, so you wanted to be close to wherever you were working. I had the opportunity to, at least. It's got a great subway system and SkyTrain system. But for me, physically, it was just better to be very close to my hotel.
Mm.
And one thing that I didn't know prior to moving there, there's a big motorbike taxi convenience. You can get on it. They're just mopeds being driven around by all these Thai guys, and because the traffic, if any of your listeners have been to Bangkok or know anything about it, very bad traffic, bad, bad, bad. You're stuck for hours if you're in the back, if you're in a car. And but the motorbikes, they just go through the traffic. There's no rules for the motorbikes, and this is the same in Thailand. Vietnam was even worse. It's crazy in Vietnam. Cambodia, all these motorbikes, just they're on the street, they're on the sidewalks. If the streets are too full for them, they'll jump onto the sidewalk and bring you wherever you need to go. Um, so amazing. The motorbike taxis will take you wherever you need to go. Um, for very, very, very cheap prices, and it's all cash. It's just a very and some you'll run into the drivers that are kind of schmucks that will try and take advantage of you because you're fair skinned. You're not obviously Thai or Asian. But again, since I was living in the same place for a couple of years, you build relationships with the people. You're not speaking the same language, but I'm yelling, "Oh, my friend, my friend!" I call them all my friend, my friend. So I yell, "My friend," and they know who I am. So you end up getting a good deal as long as you're kind and generous to people. It's simple. That's a very good lesson, I guess, when you're in any country, as I'm certain that
Absolutely.
you would imagine to say that in Spain's the same thing. That if you're kind to people, generally they're going to be. Again, you're going to get people that are looking to take advantage of tourists, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in good shape as long
Yeah,
as you're nice to them as well.
I would
So,
agree.
yeah, the motorbikes, fantastic. Once you get over the fear of the fact that you're on the back of this small bike riding down the road, or going in between all the cars that are stuck in traffic.
I'm
Um,
so I'm envisioning like, are you literally on the back like holding on to a guy like sitting on his
Yeah,
dirt bike, basically, and not
exactly. Yeah.
like in a rickshaw, not like you're in a seat being
No, I
pulled
mean
by a bike.
there are tuk-tuks. Those are the famous tuk-tuks,
Tuk-tuks,
which
yeah,
is exactly that. It's a rickshaw. Yeah, in India they call them rickshaws. In Thailand they're called tuk-tuks.
that's right.
And that it's a bit the tuk-tuks are a tourist trap
Ah, okay,
because they used to be the big famous thing that everyone would be on the back of a tuk-tuk, but they have been replaced by the motorbikes or
gotcha.
the convenient one. The tuk-tuks are bad because you still get stuck in the same traffic, but you don't have air conditioning. You're just stuck in the and like when it was the I learned a lot about the city through the eyes of tourists that were staying at my hotel. So I worked in the lobby as the guest service manager, and you'd get these guys that would come back and they'd be coughing because they just spent the last hour in the back of a tuk-tuk in traffic, breathing in fumes from other cars. So really, tuk-tuks are fun late at night when you're going out to the bars and stuff, and you're going far away and there's no more traffic. It can get fun to get on the back of get into a tuk-tuk, and when it's not too hot out and you're whizzing along and just freedom and embracing the
Yeah.
freedom. But convenience wise, you're on a motorbike.
And how do you know the motorbike guys? Like, how do you distinguish between like just some guy
they've
passing
got they've
on
got
a motorbike?
orange vests on. Yeah,
And
they wear
somebody,
orange
but can
vests.
somebody just go get an orange vest and throw one on, or is it like
It's
legit?
and
Like,
apparently, and it's like cost a lot of money to get the badge to get
okay,
just like in New York City, the badge for your
a
taxi.
taxi. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's something they're proud of. They've got you can't see you don't understand what's on the back written on the back. It's all in Thai, but they've got a picture on the back with that they're authentic.
I'm
Not
just
saying
loving
that I
this
haven't
vision
not
of
saying
like,
that I haven't just hitched rides on random people's bikes and stuff. That's another amazing thing about Thailand, that the people are just kind. And as long as you are open, again, this is from my injury. Certainly, I push limits a little more than what I would have. I don't always think through everything. I'm always very. I don't put myself in dangerous situations, but I push limits. How's that to say? So I'll hop on the back of a random guy's bike if it's going to get me to where I need to go faster or if things are inconvenient. Certainly. And in Thailand, man, the people are friendly. The people are kind and nice. It must be it's Buddhist heritage that they're just kind and they're friendly. I like to talk to people, and you always get people talking back to you, whether it's in English or it's in Thai or it's in whatever. We're just smiling. It's the famous Thai smile, and really makes a big difference.
could you imagine? This is an interesting thought. Like,
All right.
I'll preface this with, I think I've realized, like, living in different countries, that I think in the US we grow up with a little bit of a fear-based mentality. There's a lot of like, I don't know if it's the news or what it is, but there's this
Yeah.
like fear that, someone's going to rob you, someone's going to uh assault, like there's some fear around things like that. Like, I don't think you would, if you were in Miami and somebody passed on a dirt bike, you'd be like, "Hey dude, I gotta get to the bank. Can I get a
Yeah.
ride on your motorcycle?" You
Very, very
probably
good.
wouldn't do that, right?
Very good point. Yeah. Very good point. Yeah. That, exactly. That you get if you've never been abroad, then you don't get it. You don't understand. It's just different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to be more open when you're abroad, but it's not something I feel much safer. I'm very safe in Thailand. It's an incredibly safe place. I could
That's a good
walk
thing to point
anywhere
out.
I could walk anywhere at any time of the day or at the night, and there's no you don't get the same kind of crime here. Not It doesn't happen to you're more likely to be if you're going to get assaulted or whatever, it's going to be from a drunk
Mm.
expat. It's gonna be
Yeah.
it's not from certainly not from a Thai person, certainly not. Certainly, yeah, you'll get ripped off every once in a while from the taxi drivers, an angry taxi driver, if he's had a bad day or whatever, or if if you look like a susceptible, typical tourists, sometimes
Yeah.
in any country, you're gonna have people that are gonna try to take advantage of you. The tuk-tuk drivers, they're going to try and take advantage of everyone because they know they're a tourist novelty in a way.
Mm. Yeah.
But I it was really that it really resonated with me one time. I was in Hong Kong in the back of a taxi. This is maybe 2017 or so, just when I was there on vacation. And the taxi driver told me how lucky I was to be living in Thailand now instead of the United States.
Wow.
And this guy in Hong Kong, a random guy, and that really he was like, "Oh, you're very lucky to be living in Thailand."
I've
It
had this
really
happen too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that really
The
resonated with
world's
me with
perception of the
yeah,
US has changed quite a bit. I think I
yeah,
mean, not to make it political, but maybe since Trump or something, like there was a big shift in the way the world was looking at like this promised land, like where everything happens,
yeah,
to like, oh man, you got lucky, you got out. And it's been a
yeah,
really interesting
certainly,
shift.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so people, there's nothing to be afraid. I mean, again, it's as long as you're open, you have to be open-minded and you have to be free and liberated, and you'll realize how amazing going abroad and experiencing other cultures can be and is. And that, yeah, exactly. It was a very good point. I would never think to hop on the back of someone's bike in Miami like I would in a second here in Thailand. In a second,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like coming back to Bangkok, as a couple points that I think would be interesting. You've mentioned the cost of living, and not to harp on this too much.
Yeah,
I don't like to go like too deep on the cost of living because
yeah,
I don't want to like make it seem like that's the reason to move somewhere. It's a factor. It's not a reason, I
certainly.
think. And so but just roughly speaking, like how would you compare, contrast? I don't know if you want to do it on a percentage basis or actual cost, like your fixed expenses in say Miami versus your fixed expenses in
I
Bangkok.
I I thought like consumer price goods. I thought were like good. The price parity was like four times cheaper.
Okay.
Four
That's
times
a good,
for your typical goods at like the 7-Eleven or something. A
yeah.
perfect example, a pack of Mentos. I'm a big fan of the Mentos packs. Yeah, I'm trying to think like at a Rite Aid or a grocery store or a gas station in the States, you don't get those Mentos for under $1. I think that that's fair to
Yeah.
say. Or even a water bottle, you don't get that for under $1 in the States. They cost 10 baht at 7-Eleven. The Mentos cost 10 baht, and 10 baht, divide that by 35, you're paying about 30 cents for
Wow.
that same pack of Mentos.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
it's the same product. Again, there
Yeah.
are things that are imported that you're going to pay a lot for. Craft beer, you're paying a lot for because it's imported. Steak, for example, if it's like a filet mignon, you're going to pay a lot more than you would in the US
Hmm.
for, but it is incredibly cheaper for just your average goods. Chicken, I remember I buy grilled, and again, it's not the same chicken as what you're going to get in the States, maybe, but I haven't been sick yet, and it's been a bunch of years eating the chicken that I eat in Thailand. I remember going to Whole Foods, and once a week it was 2.99 Tuesday in the States, and for on Tuesday you could get a pound of chicken for $3, 2.99 for a pound of chicken. Otherwise, it'd be like $6 for a pound. You go to Thailand, and you're paying about 120 baht for a kg of chicken, which is
Wow.
2.2 pounds, and
Yeah.
120 baht is $3 30, maybe $3.60. So you're paying 360. Let's say even say it's $4 for 2 pounds of chicken on any day, not only on 2.99
Not just
Tuesday,
on Tuesday.
not just on 2.99 Tuesday. So you're paying, yeah. So you're paying so much less. And again, the if you're a digital nomad or if you're someone who gets paid outside of Thailand, move there right away.
Yeah.
I get paid on a Thai, I mean, on an expat salary, but it's still Thai, so for the job, I'd be making more salary wise if I was in the US. There's no doubt.
Sure.
But for what I'm making, for what things cost, the life that I'm able to live is so far superior. I will say, I'm not necessarily a savings account wise going to be able to save the amount of money that I would be saving in the US. I wouldn't be able to live the incredible life that I'm living in the States
Yeah.
for the cost for the what I would say that the salary, multiply it by 4 times what I'm making in Thailand, and that's the kind of life that I'm living in the U that's what the kind of life I'd be living in the US.
That
And
4x factor is a good number to kind of focus on, because I imagine that kind of that covers, like, roughly speaking, like a taxi ride or apartment or your bills,
yeah,
like it's a good thing for people to know. And are there any something else I think is really interesting, if someone's considering moving to Bangkok, are there any like general zones or neighborhoods that you would say, like, this
um,
is where you'd like to go probably?
it's there Bangkok is a huge city. You wanna be close to downtown, you wanna be close to Sukhumvit. Sukhumvit Road is the long road that cuts through Bangkok, but there are a number of neighborhoods. You're gonna pay more money in Tonglor area, which is a little more expat style. In the
Hmm.
expat areas, you're going to pay more than in the Thai neighborhoods, but and my advice, my suggestion would be look for when you're looking to to rent an apartment, rent older apartments because they're so much larger.
Mm.
Some of the newer style apartments are like real city style apartments. You got people coming in that they're not large at all and they're more expensive. But I've always gone on the other route that I want space. I like space, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of. I don't need marble floors or a
Right.
marble kitchen countertop. I like space, So I've had some really nice looking apartments. The last one I had a really large terrace on it that I host barbecues every weekend for all my
Yeah.
friends. It was a lot of fun. And now more recently, I've been living in hotels on month by month basis.
Oh, okay.
I've started to embrace spontaneity at its finest, totally. So I'm going either Airbnb, or I was staying for the last 3 months. Before going back to the States, I'd been staying in a hotel right along downtown Bangkok, paying what 800 a month for a hotel suite with breakfast included, cleaning every day.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's a great deal.
yeah, for an 80 square meter, basically it wasn't a hotel room, it was an apartment suite. It was a hotel suite, had a full kitchen that I could cook myself when I wanted to, but I got to stumble down, go to buffet breakfast every morning. I mean,
It's great.
yeah.
Is that a normal thing, or is that just because of COVID? Like, do people do that on a normal basis?
It's much more so because of COVID. Prices are certainly lower now, but
Yeah.
I'm not anticipating it changing anytime soon. I don't plan to be on another year-long lease for a long time. I mean, I'm living out of 2 suitcases. I mean, it's cool.
Excellent.
I get to I'm here in Phuket. I'm staying in this hotel until the 25th per
Nice.
the government rules. I have this place till the 25th, and then I don't know where I'm gonna go after that. I think I'll stay in Phuket.
You're
I've
doing
got
like
a
the ultimate staycation, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm just gonna stay home, but go to a hotel, and but I'm just gonna
exactly,
do that
yeah.
for forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier. I've got a couple of pictures of my family and stuff that I put up, of course, but it's nice not having to decorate anywhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
not having to worry about the sheets or anything. All that's already gonna be there for me. It's,
Fantastic. That's awesome. That's a great hack. I love it.
Yeah, and I met a girl before I went back to the States, and she works remotely as well. She's here in Thailand, so it's the perfect opportunity. She's actually coming to meet me here tomorrow, and
Awesome.
then I told her, "Hey, I've got a doctor's appointment in Bangkok at the hospital on October 22nd, but I don't have to be anywhere until that. That's a Thursday. I'll spend the weekend in I think it's a Friday. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll spend that weekend in Bangkok, but we don't have to be anywhere in particular. We'll figure it out. And Airbnb, they do great deals on 4 week stays. If you
Mhm.
stay for 4 weeks plus, the discounts are like 30-40% compared to what you're paying on a night by night basis. So I'm very happy to break up life month by month and say, okay, maybe I'll stay here again, or maybe I'll go to a new city or just a different place,
I love it.
which is
I did that for a while as well. Actually, I did a year of month-to-month rentals and Airbnbs all around the world, and it was super fun. I got a little
yeah,
tired towards the end of it because
yeah,
I've mentioned this on the show before, but we were traveling with our dog, which is like a big Siberian Husky, and that gets a little
that would
tough.
be a little different. Yeah, see
But
me, you're
mobile, man. You got
yeah,
two
yeah,
suitcases
hey,
and you can move.
exactly,
Where
exactly,
else?
and
Looking, zooming out a little bit on Thailand, where are some of the other areas? Like, it sounds like you really love Bangkok, but you're in Phuket now. Are there other areas? Of course, Thailand's very famous for the island life and everything. What are a couple other, two or three maybe places that you might consider living, settling down long term if you were looking at Thailand again?
it would be I to settle to live long term. It'd be Bangkok.
Yeah.
I'd only rent like for a year long lease. I'd be in Bangkok. But I enjoy traveling. Vietnam is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cambodia was, I got to go to Angkor Wat, which was cool. Got to see all of that, see all the sights. Been to Bali a bunch of times. I've been to, yeah, I went to Vietnam like 3 or 4 times in 2019 before COVID.
Mm.
And the cool thing, another really good thing about here in Southeast Asia, the airlines, it's not like the US where you have to book 2 weeks, your flight 2 weeks in advance. And otherwise, if you try and book last minute, it's very expensive. Things like that. You can book the same day for no difference in price.
Wow.
I met a girl one time. This was back when I was still working in the hotel many years ago when I moved here. And I met her in the morning, and at lunchtime we booked a flight for the weekend. I met her on Friday morning, and that night we flew to an island together here in
Wow.
Bangkok, here in Thailand. And I paid like $30 round trip for the flight. It was yeah,
Insane.
and over like 3 hours before I flew, 6 hours or 7 hours before we flew, I booked a flight, and no price difference whatsoever. If not,
Wow.
maybe a little bit cheaper than it would have been. So it lends very well to spontaneity,
Mm.
to exactly living a very spontaneous kind of life. Again, I'm getting older. I guess it won't be able to go forever. I shouldn't, at least. I should look to settle things down a little bit. But
Nah.
until then, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's more it's fun this way.
Yeah.
It fits very well with me post injury, with the way my brain is, where I like new. I like to discover. I like to fight and to adapt. I like to have to adapt, and adapting to change is a very big thing for me because I've had to do it physically for so long and mentally. I like that about life.
I'm wondering if perhaps I was dropped on my head or something as well, because I think I have this also.
Yeah,
Because I also, just for some people will say like, man, you're a glutton for punishment. Like it's, like going through some of the
right,
things that it takes to live abroad. Like, it's not always easy. There's a lot of challenges, bureaucracy and things like that that just make it not so fun sometimes, but the adaptability makes
right.
it
It's
enjoyable.
exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting. It keeps life exactly that.
Somebody who loves to
Keeps
like run marathons or work out or do something that's sort of tough and painful, and maybe in a moment you wonder why you do it, but then at the end when you cross the finish line you're like, I'm signing up for the next one.
yeah, right.
That's sort of the same thing, I think. And it's interesting you talk about some of the surrounding places. So Bangkok's your place in Thailand. And how do you compare Thailand to other Southeast Asian countries? Because you've seen a lot around there, and I'm
Yeah.
painting some very broad strokes. Like, how do you kind of compare, contrast Thailand to, say, Vietnam,
I
Cambodia,
think
Bali?
I think Vietnam is the next closest to Thailand. It's a couple of years behind. I think
Hmm.
that's the best way of putting it. That Thailand is the most advanced of them. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. They're all big cities as well. But like in Ho Chi Minh, man, Ho Chi Minh was it's crazy. I remember I went there with my mom, and this is where the motorbikes are on the sidewalks and stuff. Like you're not safe anywhere. You're not safe walking anywhere. Crazy place. and again, if I was living there, I would love it, and I do love it. I enjoyed being there, but I think that they're a couple years behind Bangkok when it comes. Bangkok has some of the best international hospitals in the world.
Mm,
I have a phenomenal team of neurologists and other doctors, all based here in Bangkok.
really?
That's been I didn't bring that up. That's been a really big thing. Because because I still have appointments for my brain injury. I've got a medical device in my stomach, the surgery I had here in Thailand. Um, it'd be a lot more challenging for me to live abroad if the doctors weren't as capable as they are here, because I don't have to go back and forth. I don't have to go to the US. I don't have and it's much less expensive here. It's harder to get a US insurance to cover it,
Mm,
but the normal doctor appointment is nowhere near the prices you'll pay in the States. And this is
wow.
always a good thing, when my dad helped me move here back in January of 2016, and he wanted to come to all the first hospital appointments. He's an incredible patient advocate. He had done all the research to find the doctors that I had to meet when I moved here that he wanted to meet as well to introduce my case. I mean, it was a big deal. It is a big deal. So we walk into the hospital on the first day that we're there. We went there early because we wanted to be able to schedule the appointment and stuff in the time that he was still visiting. We were able to see the top neurologist at the hospital within an hour.
Wow.
And that doesn't happen in the US, certainly not. That are like,
Absolutely not.
oh yeah, come on right in. Yeah, give it. He's got a point. He's got a patient right now, but you're next in line. Like it's just totally different. We walked in and we saw like three different, and he set us up with like two other doctors that same day. Oh, that
Wow.
having dealt with a lot of doctors in many hospitals around the U.S. since my injury in '08, that does not happen.
People can't see your face like I can right now. People listening,
Yeah,
you're beaming with joy talking about this, and I can imagine all the appointments you've gone through and the headaches that must have come
yeah.
from the medical situation, the healthcare situation we have in the U.S. It I can't imagine how much of a breath of fresh air that must have been for you.
And like now I've been going to the same hospital for what, 5 years, and so you build relationships with the nurses or the sweetest girls, ladies in the world. And like, perfect example, 2 months ago or so, I had an early Saturday doctor's appointment or Friday doctor's appointment. I'd been out the night before with my friends. It was certainly not in a great state of mind. I was just a little bit hungover, a little bit, very little. And
It happens.
and you could certainly, it was visible. And so the nurses are looking at me like, oh, Kun. They call you Kun Chris. Kun is the respectful term, so Khun. Oh, Kun Chris, are you okay, are you okay? I'm like, oh, just a little tired. And the doctor was running late that morning. She opened up one of the rooms a couple doors down and let me take a nap in the hospital bed. She was like, "Oh, Kun Chris, you lay here. I'll tell you when the doctor comes." So
I'm sure they just charged your insurance a couple $1,000 for that, right?
not in Thailand exactly. Oh, she goes, "Oh, Kun Chris, here, you just rest here, but I'll call you when the doctor arrives." Turn the light off and everything. I mean, it's
Wow.
just funny, just very cool. Really, just you feel very taken care of, very well taken care of, which is yeah, I
It's
feel
super
safe
super
and
interesting.
cool here. Yeah,
I've also found that I know I've talked to people on this show and outside the show who have actually moved abroad for medical situations because like
yeah,
they're like, oh, it's cost prohibitive for me in the US. And I mean, even people doing I know a lot of people are doing like short trips down to Mexico to have
right.
children or going to Costa Rica to do their dental work.
Yeah,
And
you get a lot of Australians coming here to Bangkok for dental work.
yeah,
When I was
yeah,
in
it's
the
a
hotel, and you get
fairly
a lot
normal
of
thing.
people from the Middle East came here for their yearly checkups, their annual checkups at the doctor's office. They came from all the countries in the Middle East, and people from India would come here to Thailand, to Bangkok specifically for the medical treatments.
That's super cool that you can do that. So do you, and you don't have to go into this too much, but just in general, do you buy private insurance, or is it like a social covered socially, or how does that work as an
We
expat?
again, we're still paying. I'm still paying independently from.
Yeah.
We get it covered in the States what we can. Otherwise, we're just paying independently.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't found it's hard for me to get insured because of my pre-existing uh, situation, but
Gotcha.
we work through it. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fortunate. Again, I've got phenomenal family support, which has helped me certainly through everything the
Oh,
most.
I'm
Yeah,
happy. I'm happy
but
for that.
no, it's an awesome place to live and to feel very free and alive here in
I
Thailand.
can
Yeah.
see it. I could see it.
Hmm.
Yeah. It seems like you're living a really balanced, fun, energetic life, bouncing around Southeast Asia, seeing a bunch of different places, enjoying your time in Thailand.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully by next year, it will get back to where it was in 2019 was
Yeah.
a 20, yeah, it was it could go everywhere. And then yeah, prior to COVID, of course, when things were normal. And eventually it will get back to that. And yeah.
Want to just as we kind of wrap this up, I was curious if you have any resources off the top of your head that people should maybe consider looking into if they're looking into moving to Thailand that could be related to expat groups or like how to find housing. Like for instance, in Spain, we use an app called Idealista to find apartments and stuff. Or any other information that you think would be prevalent for someone considering a move there
Well,
before we close it up.
I'm part of a there are a number of groups on Facebook. I think it's BKK expats. I never post anything, but I just am there to see. A lot of it's kind of just people roasting each other, but
Yeah,
you'll get your online trolls no matter what. But it's incredible. No matter what the question is, there's always an answer. BKK expats or expats in Thailand, and it's stuff that's like random
yeah,
and everything. People know everything. They're, I mean, because again, they've been here for a number of years and so many different unique experiences or what different unique needs. And they'll put up a picture of like, oh, I'm looking for this specific product or this something, and there are answers like right away.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I found
Facebook
this to
is
be
an
true too. Yeah,
yeah,
Facebook groups are
Facebook's an
insanely
incredible
useful.
tool. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I fortunately what I yeah, I asked for where can I get an electric grill one time for my barbecues at my apartment back with the big terrace, and instantly answers, answers, answers.
That's really
Yeah,
useful.
but again, the number one, I guess, piece of advice that I'd have for people who have not moved or are looking to move is be confident in yourself, and it's more fun to do it alone, to work through it, to yeah, that's the beauty of life abroad as an
Mhm.
expat, that it's not supposed to be as easy as living in the States. That's why you want to leave.
Yeah,
There are exactly your extenuating circumstances where you're coming for for the medical idea or for a job. But if you have the opportunity to live abroad and you're really thinking about it, then you're looking at it like, yeah, life's not supposed to be so easy. Why I could go onto that Facebook group and find out the exact answer and find a place right away to right today where I can pick up that exact thing that I'm looking for, that exact thing from home. But why do you want to do that when there's so many different opportunities if you just go out and you kind of let the wind blow you around and let things hit you and impact you one way or another? And that's what life's about, or it can be
yeah,
about.
yeah. It certainly can, and it adds a little spice to life that makes it a lot of fun.
Exactly.
And I've just realized also one thing I meant to ask you and I didn't is generally speaking, how are you able to stay in Thailand? Did you get a specific visa through your work and does that continue, or what's the general
Right. Yeah.
situation
So
like?
I've had work permits from the start, and currently, since I'm working for the startup company, I don't have a new work permit yet. We're still in that process of getting the company all registered. I'm on a medical visa.
Okay.
So, yeah, because I have the ongoing relationship at the hospital, and they will, and actually, I was on the phone with the hospital a couple of hours ago, setting up my next appointment, so that immigration goes to the hospital and will help to extend your visa for up to 60 days at a time, or up to 90 days, depending when you have appointments in the future.
Awesome. Okay.
So yeah,
And
I go in, I schedule I have reoccurring follow-up appointments for I've got a medical device in my stomach that has to be updated and filled every 2 or 3 months.
mm,
So they want me to stay, obviously, for the hospital. So immigration extends my visa for me.
gotcha. And do you find that like Thailand is pretty open to long-term
Um,
expats, residents, tourists, or is it like
it's
the opposite where it's super difficult?
For me with this hospital, it's easy. But you go onto that BKK expats group and you hear real. It's entertaining sometimes, fortunately, because it's not happening to me.
Yeah.
But you hear there are a lot of horror stories, but there are a number of different. Everyone always has an answer if someone's asking, "Oh, how can I extend this visa?" And there are education, there are, "Oh, just take this Thai class here and do this." So there are always ways. It's not necessarily easy. I'm certain it's easier than the United States, I would imagine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it works.
There's ways around it. Yeah, yeah. I got
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you can make it work. Yeah. I know people here in
Certainly.
Spain that are like they're on a language learning, like a Spanish learning visa, and they
Yeah.
come for a
Exactly.
year and they just take a couple classes and they can stay and
Yeah, right. Or yeah, some sort of volunteer visa or anything of the sort.
yeah.
Again, or you pay a service. And, there are visa services that you pay, and I'm certain that they just pay whoever the immigration officers.
Yeah.
Uh, there are ways to kind of spin the wheels and make sure
Gotcha.
the wheels are all smoothed out. How's that, right? Yeah. It's Thailand.
Awesome.
It's Asia, but it's like the wild, wild west a little bit still out here. You have everything, very great business, whatever, but there's still life is exciting, more exciting than
Yeah.
in the U.S., at least to me.
There's some
And
gray
it and
areas, we'll
and
say.
if you like massages, you come to Thailand. Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
oh, well,
that's
my
famous.
my my mom, for example, well, and my mom got her hair washed like every single day. Her like, and I guess for a girl, for a lady, it's a big deal. They don't do a full wash and shampoo and blow dry on a daily basis. But the salons, everything is so inexpensive. You
Yeah.
get it's and the massage shops are all over the place, and if you want them, as they can be as authentic or not authentic as you're looking for. But like the authentic massage, you're paying $9 for the hour, and
Wow.
it's amazing. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah,
Man,
totally
I'm
different.
I'm so happy you're enjoying life abroad.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're thriving there, which is so
yeah.
fun to hear. And I really appreciate all the information today. Super
Thank
useful,
you. And
a lot of
anyone,
fun.
yeah, please share my contact info so that anyone who listens to this and has any questions about traveling abroad with a disability and being able to do everything, and or just coming to Thailand or anywhere in the world, please feel free to reach out to me.
We'll add all that to the show notes, but for people that are listening right now, what's the best place for people to locate you?
I believe Instagram.
Instagram,
Yeah,
okay.
my Instagram CD_worldwide. If you
CD underscore worldwide.
have you ever
Perfect.
seen Step Brothers, the best movie
Yes, yes.
of all
Will
time?
Ferrell.
Prestige worldwide, CD worldwide. If you, yeah. So
I get
no,
the correlation now.
yeah.
Awesome.
So it works.
Well,
Yep.
that's great. Yes, please reach out to Chris with any of your questions about Thailand, about traveling with a disability. If you need inspiration, he's full of it. It's also a very
Certainly, I would
fun.
love
It's
to.
fun to
Yeah.
follow your journey there on Instagram also, and see some of
Mm.
the physical therapy that you're continuing with, and see you kind of roaming around Thailand and Asia is
In
really fun.
Asia,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Putting
so keep
yeah,
it up.
thank you. Yeah, you put yourself into unique situations to be able to work yourself out of it, and it helps to build confidence and keep living the dream as we both are able to abroad. Yeah, life is good.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Chris. Appreciate all the information. We'll talk again soon.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. For those of you wondering how you can best support the show, I have made it super simple for you. Just go over to the show notes of the episode that you just finished listening to and click on one of the two following links. aboutabroad.com/newsletter to get our monthly newsletter, no spam, guaranteed, or ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, where you can quickly and easily leave a review for the show. It's not just important to me, it also helps more wanderers just like you find us. Finally, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you again next week. Thanks again. Hasta luego, amigos.